I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Storm Board. It is Wednesday, November 3rd. I'll note for the record that 3 of the board members are here and Commissioner Thomas. First item for our agenda is items not on the agenda, and we have no room. Is there anyone online who would like to make a comment?
Move your mic around close to you because it's not picking you up. At least we can move these around.
Hands being raised, yes. And there's no one online.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the next order of business, which is approval of the minutes for August 14th, 2024.
I move approval of the Stormwater Board minutes from August 14th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or changes?
I sent one Scrivener's error to Ms. Titonia earlier, and she's taking care of it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
One brief comment, since next month is November, or oh my gosh, December. I just wanted to give a thank you to Donna Barbrick for taking the minutes over the year, since might be one of our last meetings of the year. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Then all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The minutes are approved. And our next order of business is the stormwater expenditure reports for August, September, and October of 2024.
We don't have October. We'll do that December. I took a vacation.
Good for you.
Much deserved.
Okay. So for August, our biggest expense was pipes, which was over $13,500. And then we also had public education. $35,000 of that was the partnership grant. And then the gas and oil, which usually runs between $4,500 and $5,500, that was $4,900. And we also added $450,000 to the STIP road, Moore's Creek. So, any questions on that one?
I had to laugh at $9.14 for the office supplies, but also it looks like everything is really healthy. We have we don't have to worry about, now that you added $450,000 for the STIP road, looks like everything's good.
Yep, and that 450 was for Moore's Creek Road construction.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and the council just approved another additional for the STIP Road construction. We need to have that under contract by the end of this year, so it's all under control. We got it, but it looks like a lot of money in additionals, but it's just to cover the contracts.
Okay. All right. Any further questions?
To say I watched the council's appropriation, always wanting to ask questions for the public's edification, but I don't know how many people track these meetings. Would you mind giving the dollar amount for that appropriation?
For STIP Road, it'll be $1.5 million, and we'll go over the E&B contract in our business.
Which we'll touch on it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. September,
in backfill, we used over 7,000. And what was that for? At Roger Street? Or? And just the gas again was $5,333. And STIP Road, we paid out over $7,200.
any questions?
The travel and training, was that for INASM?
Yes, that was for the Indiana Association of Floodplain and Stormwater Managers. Myself, Erica Penna, Adam Ricker attended that conference. It included an overnight stay.
It's in Michigan City. They had the Indiana Geographic Information Council up there. Nice location. Hope you enjoyed it, next to the dunes. Do you mind talking about Erica's presentation? It's always nice to bring attention and awareness to some of the people kind of out there kind of showing what Monroe County is up to.
Absolutely.
And I also think other counties might try to implement some of the same measures of what we're doing, so.
Sure. At the NAFSM conference in September this year, Erica Penna, our stormwater inspector, gave a presentation on our post-construction BMP inventory that's been in the works since 2021. They created a public-facing dashboard with the GIS division here to summarize the data and make it accessible for those who own BMPs or live near them. She is planning to do a presentation for you at our December meeting where she can go over that information. So you can think about some questions for her for December. So really proud of her for doing a presentation in front of a group of big people, at a conference. So she did a really wonderful job.
It's one other thing, since I attend them quite frequently in other areas that kind of have a lot of stormwater overlap and drainage overlap, that there are a lot of counties out there tackling the same issues, and I think we came up with a very good approach of kind of being able to address these BMPs and being able to present that to other counties, I think is amazing, or just other MS4 communities, because they are now realizing there's tools available to achieve the same goals that we accomplish. And, I don't want to, skim over that. I think that's very important. So thank you for expanding on that.
Yeah, thank you, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, I just point out for the public that a BMP is a best management
Yes.
practice.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes.
Sorry.
All right. Is there any public input on the expenses? Seeing none, all in favor of, we don't, actually. No, we don't.
Not a voting item.
Then our next,
I'm sorry, Lee. I have one more thing.
oh, I'm sorry.
We started doing permits in July. So the total for July, August, September, and October, we have taken in $11,541 so far.
Great, okay,
So I just
well,
wanna let
thank
you
you.
guys know that.
All right. We'll expect to be hearing about that then.
One question, and this goes back to our conversation. Do those fees come back to stormwater, or they are? Okay, so that got settled, because last time we had this conversation, I wasn't certain if those fees were going to come back to stormwater, and I see head nodding, so if you wanted to touch on that, that'd be great. Or Miss Githens, Commissioner Githens.
No, all I was going to say is that with the Waste Reduction District, we see both expenditures and revenue on our monthly reports that we get. So maybe going forward, it would be reasonable to see revenue like this also reported in our packet.
Is
If
that-
that's not too much.
Yeah, is that asking a lot?
No, it's not, but yeah, so I can take care of that.
Thank you.
And, it goes into 1197, our account, and then it goes into a separate account that shows just stormwater permits that we're taking in as a.
Okay, awesome.
Great,
Great
thank
work.
you. Yeah,
I guess we do that with Parks and Rec too.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually. So our next order of business is the 2025 Stormwater Management Board meeting dates. I assume you've looked at them. Kelsey, you had mentioned the other day, is that something you want to bring up now?
Yes, I would, and I'm about to share my screen with an updated version. Okay, so as of yesterday, the Drainage Board approved their 2025 meeting schedule, and we have some limitations on what week that board can meet due to some other conflicts But
My eyes can't see the screen. Could you make
Oh,
it?
sorry,
Could you
sorry.
enlarge it? Sorry.
Is that the same one that you passed out on the
Yeah.
desk? That's the same one that's in the packet.
Yes.
So
No,
when you
it's
said
not.
updated?
the
no,
packet
it's not.
hasn't been updated.
Okay, just the January 8th, as I
Yes.
keep looking.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was too quick.
Yeah, so it's a lot for me to prepare packets for board meetings in the same week. If we can stagger them, it makes my workload much easier. I'm wondering if we could change the Stormwater Management Board meeting to the first Wednesday of each month. Then I'll have Drainage Board on the second Tuesday. That gives me a little bit more time to prepare packets. So there weren't any major holiday conflicts except for January, so I kept that as the second Wednesday, but everything else should be the first Wednesday. I said this removes the conflict with the Capital Improvement Board meetings, which I think is a benefit. The only close meeting to this is the BZA meeting, Board of Zoning Appeals, at 5:30 p.m. in this room. But I talked to planning, they have it set up very similarly, so should have plenty of time between those meetings. Would you like more time to review these dates and maybe take it to next month's meeting, or?
I'm fine with it. I think this is really my only Wednesday meeting at 3 o'clock, so it's not going to interfere with.
Yeah, I actually like getting it off of the second week of the month because there's an awful lot that goes on then. So, yeah.
The only thing I was thinking of is like, is there any need for us to meet due to drainage board or planning? But no, we're kind of outside of that, and that's always kind of a consideration when we're looking at the drainage board schedule.
Yeah.
Are we approving these?
Are you comfortable?
I'm not going to be part of this going forward, so you have to understand, too, that there may be a change, a request for change.
That's true. I did mention that the other day, yeah. Well, we'll just.
But we still need to, we're required to do this, yeah.
So let's hope for the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I move approval of the 2025 meeting schedule for the Monroe County Stormwater Management Board as presented to us in person today, and I'm sure the packet will be updated.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on the stormwater meeting dates? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the 2025 Stormwater Management Board meeting dates, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. And our next order of business is E&B Paving, the Stip Road Construction Contract Award.
Okay, I'll get this packet pulled up again.
As you're pulling up, I'll just note that I attempted to drive down there today, but they're doing a lot of paving, and so there's a lot of unassessed, non-access to the roads down there. And so
Yes.
for the public, if you're trying to kind of get to Car Top or around that area, plan accordingly because they are paving down there.
Going off of Stip Road, that's how I've been accessing the site.
Okay.
Yeah. The highway department is paving the rest of Moores Creek Road. Milestone paved our project area last week. And so now they're just finishing up shoulder stone, erosion control, finishing the ditches. I'll have a report for you at the end of that project. But this is for the construction of the Stip Road portion. And we did sealed bids, opened October 30th, and we received 4 bids. So this agenda item asking for approval of the proposal from E&B Paving, which came in as the lowest, most responsible bidder for $1,342,600. Thank you to Paul for doing our tabulation of the bids.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Just a lot of information. I will say that going through this, I do my best to try to understand, but there's a lot of complexity here. So I'll just go ahead and say that there is a few areas that, you know, maybe the next go around on such a large contract that we could maybe walk me through what I'm looking at on some of this. I'm very aware of the project and what's going on. I'm in support. I knew of the dollars and things, but just when I'm looking at something and I feel like I'm supposed to understand it and I don't, it just kind of puts me in a precarious position. So I'll just say for next time, maybe that would be very helpful for me. Also, I've been a bit busy, so I'll take my accountability of not reaching out and asking for the assistance. You've always been available whenever I've reached out.
Commissioner Githens?
I'm just so pleased this is moving forward. We've had the Baby Creek and Stip Road listed on things for many years now, so.
Ever since I've been a commissioner. And I think probably for quite a while before then. Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting when these things that just seem almost like permanent agenda items kind of suddenly take off and happen.
I will say we are still waiting on Duke's utility relocation. That should happen hopefully this winter. In the bid documents, I listed a expected start date, notice to proceed around April 1st. That would give Duke about 6 months, but they're still in the process of acquiring their easement from the Corps of Engineers. So, yeah, so this will definitely be 2025 construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can imagine that might be slow going, but hopefully they'll get it done over the winter.
I guess I have actually a question, and it might be easy as far as how things will work, but I'm not certain. With the council kind of making the policy where they don't want to encumber funds, and we were talking about this actually taking effect in 2025, but then we just recently went and got the additional appropriation so we could actually have this contract signed by this year. How is that going to work? Are we an outlier? Is there certain exceptions, or could you touch on that?
Yeah, we did add this into the 2025 budget, but we had to ask for the additional because due to our water permits, we were required to have it under contract by December 15th of this year, or else we would have to redo all of our water permits. So there are kind of two things happening there. So we put it in the 2025 budget after you had already seen the first draft. So that was one of the major changes I brought back to you before you approved it, is we did add the Stip Road construction into that amount. Lisa, I see you around. Did you have anything else to add?
The only other thing I was going to add, I don't think we can award it without having the funds in place. So that's why we had to do, and this was, the way we did it was direction from the council office to appropriate, go in for the additional. Then we won't most likely carry it over because they don't want to encumber. And then use the funds that's actually appropriated for 2025. But we wouldn't be allowed to award the project without making sure we have the funds in place. So we wanted to take those extra steps to make sure we could award it and be ready to go in April.
Okay. And I'm going to just kind of restate maybe what you said, and I know this won't be exactly too detailed, but it sounds like we're budgeting for the full amount so we can put it under contract. As the new budget cycle comes, we most likely won't spend that all down, and then we'll have that already appropriated, so then we can pay it out moving forward. There might be some other nuances there. It's just something I'm trying to wrap my head around with the new policy, because it makes it really tricky for these larger projects, and I know Lisa has a lot of them, so I'm sure she's figured out a great strategy moving forward. Is that somewhat accurate, the way I just explained it? Because we wouldn't be spending down the money that we appropriated. and then spending down all the other money that we have for next year
Correct.
appropriated on the same project.
Correct.
And if we,
The 2024 funds in this count line aren't going to be encumbered. So, yeah, like Lisa said, we just needed to have them in the account to award that contract.
okay, thank you. Sorry for that kind of rabbit hole there, but
No, that's great.
So do you need a motion? I move that we approve the contract with E&B Paving LLC in the amount of $1,342,600 for the Stip Road reconstruction.
I'll second.
Thank you. I don't think we asked for public comment, did we? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor of awarding the Stip Road construction contract to E&B Paving, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And our next item of business is a request to update the 2025 Stormwater Conservation District MOU to include $5,000 for a summer internship.
Yeah, so I wrote a quick memo to Martha had requested that we use some of the 2025 funds to help pay for an intern next year with the MOU funding. So the Soil and Water Conservation District has a graduate O'Neill Fellow, and this would provide them the opportunity to offer them full year work if they desire, or to hire an intern to help with their summer education programming. We do have Martha on Teams. She said she doesn't have a full report, but she is present if you would like to ask any other questions. Yep, she's waving. Hi, Martha.
There.
Hi there.
Hi, Martha. Do you want to add anything?
Nothing other than
Okay.
the reason that we're asking for it is because
Are there any questions, comments?
It's hard for me to hear, Martha, but I did want to ask, it's the updating to include $5,000. Does this mean we're increasing the amount in the MOU? It's just reallocation of the funds? Okay, thank you.
Yes. So we had removed any discussion of staff or hiring someone with that money. It was all for grant funding. She's requesting to add that back in so they have the option, the flexibility to do it. So this will require us to amend that MOU, but she just wanted to be able to know what will happen so that she can take it to her board and let her interns know what to expect next summer. So the paperwork will come after if you're agreeable to this.
So I had a couple of comments or thoughts. I'm in support of this. I think it's a great effort. I think sometimes we hear about a request to use the remainder of the mini grants appropriation, the MOU funding, for the subsequent year because they weren't able to spend it down. Having maybe additional help can really get
I'm back,
others
sorry.
on board to kind of utilize all those dollars. And maybe this is an incentive here, but I would be willing to want to increase it by additional 5,000, maybe not this year, but if they could spend all the funding down in 2025 and they are able to spend down this 5,000 allocated to an internship or part-time and can come back and present on that, I would be willing to want to support an additional 5,000, so we're not really taking away from the mini grant program, but we are potentially allowing additional help so we can maximize those efforts. That's how I feel about this. Obviously, that's going to be a future conversation, but I just wanted to share where my thoughts were.
Thank you. Any further
I
comments?
apologize. I'm back.
Aye. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that the Stormwater Board or the Stormwater Department update the 2025 Memorandum of Understanding with the Soil and Water Conservation District to include $5,000 for a summer internship program.
I'll second, and I'm not sure how long you were gone, Martha. I made a few comments that you might want to hear, so if you get a chance to watch this again, maybe skip to the part where you lost connectivity.
I will, thanks. Sorry, I apologize. I have to join Teams on my phone because my computer doesn't have the availability to do it, and it just doesn't always work well, and I apologize for that, so.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? And seeing no public, we'll come back for a vote. All in favor of the request to update the 2025 Soil and Water Conservation District MOU to include a $5,000 summer internship, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. And now we will come to staff reports. Monroe County Water Quality Monitoring. Kaylin Berkey. Sorry.
Okay. Put it over here for you. Can I just take this? It'll be faster. Yes. Oh, there's a microphone. No one got it. We all. 3 Celsius. Oh my God. Nope. There we go.
Yeah, a lot better. Great. Okay. You can go to the podium and I can just change your slides. Just let me.
And if you'd like to state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Kaylin Berkey. I'm a second-year O'Neill Fellow for Monroe County Stormwater Program.
There we go. Okay.
All good?
All good.
All right, so today I'm going to give a little bit of a debrief on the first 8 months of sampling done under the Water Quality Monitoring Program. It started in January of this year. There we go. Okay, so the overall goals of this program are pretty simple. One was to evaluate the MS4 designated critical watersheds of Monroe County. And then the other is just to get pretty consistent data across the county overall to evaluate water quality in general, whether if it's for habitat ecosystem use, human health, quality of life, such as that. A little bit of background. So what is water quality monitoring? It's simply evaluating the physical, biological, and chemical properties of a water body. Now, there are very many ways to do this. There's your extremely scientific methods where you get down and dirty in the lab, and then there's some which is at the level that we do it, which is where volunteers have the opportunity. So we are doing everything through Hoosier River Watch. This is a program established by IDEM in the 1990s with the idea of getting local communities involved and invested in their water quality. So as part of the Hoosier River Watch group, they have a set amount of guidelines, procedures, and equipment that you use to do the water quality monitoring. You can pick and choose which of the parameters you do within their book. You have to do at least 6, though, in order to get a water quality index. Also a part of this, Hoosier River Watch, is an online database where you can log into and then look at the sites online. All of our data is up to date and logged into. We are currently 1 month ahead of what this presentation is on, but if you wanted to go and look up there, you can see our individual sites. I have paper for you. So sorry.
Thank you.
I have it right here. Oh, Tina wants one. Thank you.
Okay, part of the handout that I just showed you is shown up here. So this is the map of our water quality sites. So we picked these, basically, we wanted to make sure we had one in every single critical watershed. You'll notice that there's one more than there is critical watersheds for Monroe County. That is because we wanted to be able to compare water quality upstream of the Monroe County Airport versus downstream. So those are your sites 4 and 5 on your map. We based these off of accessibility. So is there parking nearby? How far is the walk? Do we have to carry the equipment? What is the landscape? So is it very heavy wooded, more rural area that's not developed? You can't just walk up to the stream brink. A lot of it too was, is it in the right of way, or do we need to get permission from the property owner to go and do the sampling? We did do that with sample site 4 and 6. Another major characteristic we wanted was the stream needed to be perennial, meaning it's there year round, so there's always water to sample. We did have a little hiccup in the dry season where 2 of our sites were dry for 1 month of sampling in August. All is well, it didn't mess up the results. Another one designated from IDEM stipulation is you need to have a uninterrupted run of 20 feet. So that's where the water's flowing, it's not rushing, there's no like white caps where you would see the riffles. And that's typically where you want to do most of your water quality parameter measurements on the chemical side of things. On the back of the handout I just showed you is a description of the sites with their stream name, their watershed, and then the code ID that you can plug into Hoosier River Watch if you want to be able to compare our data to around the rest of the watershed. Okay. So to measure water quality, you have to do certain water chemistry parameters. Now these have the physical and chemical components that I mentioned earlier. Physical parameters that we chose to measure are temperature change, which is each of our sites, we have 3 transects, and each transect is 60 feet apart. So we take temperature at the most downstream transect and the highest upstream transect, subtract it, that's your temperature change. Turbidity is essentially water clarity. So the higher the turbidity, the farther you can see. We like clear water. Chemical components, pH, so acidity. Dissolved oxygen is the amount of oxygen in the aqueous form that can be used by the an ecosystem and such. And then phosphate and nitrate are more related to nutrient pollutions in your agricultures. They're naturally in a lot of systems. But if they're high, then it can lead to excessive algal blooms and other problems in hypoxia in extreme cases. So these terms are combined to evaluate water quality under a WQI, or a water quality index. Now this is ranked off the EPA, and if it has a water quality index from 80 to 100, it is considered healthy and good on both the habitat and human side. And if it is between 70 and 80, it's considered fair but needs improvement. And then below 69, from 69 to 0, is poor, needs fixed, immediate attention. So obviously the goal from this was to see where our watersheds fall on this scale. So first we're going to look at turbidity and pH. Now, our turbidity is a little limited based off the Hoosier River Watch methods because we only have a 60 centimeter turbidity tube. So the ones in green are capped at 60 centimeters. They could be much greater than that. We just don't have the ability to measure past. And then for 1, 5, and 6, the turbidity ratings that were lower all occurred after rain events, which helps like stir up the sediment and stuff like that. And then pH, pretty consistent across the entire county, which is good. You don't want pH to be lower than 6.5 or higher than 8. And as you can see with the county average, we're doing pretty good, staying right around that neutral level of 7. So next, DO and temperature. So DO, you don't want to drop below 4. That's when you start to have issues with the aquatic organisms, macroinvertebrates, and fish. Across the county, pretty consistent, no real issues there. There are fluctuations between the seasons. But this is taken over an average. It has winter, summer, and spring all in it. So it's pretty fairly spread out through the year. So this could be considered more of a yearly average. I'll see if it's more how it holds up to after I add in the next 4 months of data on top of it. And then for temperature change, you don't want it to be higher than 2 degrees Celsius. So as you can see from the graph, our highest isn't even at 1.2, which is pretty good. We obviously would like it to be under 1, but you also have to consider that we are using a thermometer that you can cook a turkey with, essentially. So it's not very specific, so you have to account for some variations, at least to the 1 degree mark. So next is your nitrate and phosphorus. We haven't really had many hits on these at any sites, with the exception of Acuff Road a few times, which is site 1, and then 5 and 6 was a one-time occurrence, kind of random. So we haven't seen any issues with that and haven't looked farther into it. It has happened 3 times for phosphorus at Acuff Road and once for nitrogen. So we will be more closely looking at that, especially more into the springtime, agriculture, farm runoff and stuff like that. But so far, none has surpassed the level that has any form of concern with hypoxia and eutrophication. The last two is WQI and discharge. So as you can see, we are well above the 80 range in all categories, with the lowest being around 86 and the highest up around 93. Across the board, when you look at it, 4, 5, and 6 are the sites that are in our residential areas. So you expect them to have a lower water quality index simply from human impact, whereas 1, 2, and 7 are in rural areas, in a park. Very good. 3 is up in Ellettsville in a rural area, but it's by a recycling plant, Ellettsville's Recycling Center. So there's a little more human impact there, but it does tend to have more natural meanders in the stream, more natural environment. So it's a little on a different scale than 4, 5, and 6. When looking at discharge, I just threw this in there so we can really see the wide variety of streams that we do have in Monroe County. And even regardless of the ones that are extremely small and don't move much water, they are still relatively important, and especially in evaluating overall county quality. So we want to evaluate sites 2 and 7, 2 Jackson Creek and 7 Clear Creek, because south of Bloomington, they do merge together into one stream. So we wanted to first evaluate them individually to see if there was a point to adding another site downstream after they combined. But from looking at these results, the combined stream south of Bloomington shouldn't have anything different than these 2 sites, as their pH, DO, nitrate, phosphate. Even so much, the only really difference is the temperature change is the only difference in the stream. So we expect it to be relatively consistent even once they converge. These are 2 of our better sites. They are down near Jackson Creek Park. Both have very high water quality indexes, over 90. The next comparison is sites 4 and 5. 4 is the dark blue and 5 is light blue. 5 is south, downstream of the Monroe County Airport. Now, pH and DO, pretty consistent across it. Where we have the most change is in turbidity. Now, this can also be related to the change in WQI that you see on the farthest right of your screen. So we are attributing this low WQI at Site 5 to the high turbidity because it has been the most foggy even during 2 non-rain events. It has presented with some turbidity. Causes of this are impermeable surfaces, so surfaces that water cannot percolate through into the ground. This increases runoff, which can lead to flash floods in rain events. So flash floods do cause a lot of damage with erosion, as seen here in this picture, which is another cause of high turbidity. And there's also a very small riparian area around this site, so really only like 3 to 5 feet, 10 at most, around the curves of vegetation. So there's no buffer, there's no absorption of any of that excess water, which is really emphasizing the flash floods. And that, for reference, I'm 5'10", that's above my head by a solid 7 inches. And that's just one of the streams. Yeah, and this is one of our smaller sites. So flash flooding has led to erosion of over 6 feet in height. Our next steps are bridge sampling and biological oxygen demand. Bridge sampling, basically the exact same water chemistry parameters we're doing now. We would just use a bucket and a rope, drop it into the stream. The hope of this is to simply, when there is rain events, and some of our sites are too dangerous to go to after rain events, if the discharge is too high, this allows us to stay consistent with our monthly sampling. And then biological oxygen demand is another water chemistry parameter. It's basically how much oxygen is in the system for organisms to be able to use for nutrient cycling and such like that. That will be added in, I think, January is what Adam and I discussed. And then, in conclusion, overall, the first 8 months of sampling has shown that the water quality around Monroe County is fairly healthy, 86 to 93. I would say we're pretty high up there on the scale. The largest decrease has been caused by turbidity, and as far as red flags go, that's decent one to have because it's easy to draw conclusion about what is causing it. So it is fixable. And Site 1 on Acuff Road is really the only one that has been at risk to nutrient pollution. And as previously stated, we will continue to watch this to make sure there's no extreme spikes that need to be addressed.
Thank you so much. That was really very interesting and very reassuring. Do you have any comments or questions?
That was very well done. I was going to say,
It
did you know
was.
anything about water quality before you started this internship?
Yeah, I have a background in chemistry and I focused on water chemistry, and now my master's degree has a concentration in water quality. So a lot of my background has been in this. I'm trying to hopefully apply the chemistry side of things more into water quality, because in the past it's been less science and more just using policy to fix it. So there's starting to be a shift of incorporating more science into the policy and implementation. So I want to go that direction.
I like that. Thank you.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I almost felt like I was at one of the 30-minute blitz sessions at the Indiana Lake Management Society. It was really well done. I just have a few comments. I think, when you were at the conclusion slide and talking about, the condition of our water, and that we're in good shape, it would be nice to maybe have like an asterisk underneath and like red or something where it's not in good shape, just for like folks that aren't familiar with that. I think that would be very helpful. I think that could even, help, create change or accountability, or, prioritize efforts by having that type of information there, not just like we're in great shape, but this is what we want to avoid kind of feedback. Also, I see that this is a ESRI map. Is this part of the county's ESRI, or is this part of the Hoosier River Watch?
No, this is on the county's GIS database.
I wasn't sure.
Lynette went through and helped me make it in the fall.
Okay, great. And I love that. And I think another great way to kind of inspire people to kind of really think about this and be aware and bring awareness to issues, or, even on the flip side of that, showcase how great you're doing. I think the data visualization is a great first step in accomplishing those goals. And I was just really excited to see this. So thank you.
Of course. May I so add one more thing,
Yes,
too?
please.
It's important, I think, for people to understand that, like, Jackson Creek does go through Bloomington. And so the fact that it's this healthy, it's either that people in town are doing a good job, or that some of these things are being naturally filtered out before they go on to and join the next kind of part of the watershed. So yeah, I mean, there was one point, Jackson Creek is right behind my house. And I can remember years ago going out there and finding a grocery cart and building materials and all kinds of stuff that I'm no longer seeing there. Now it's just geodes and crinoids.
There's a very good improvement.
It is.
I actually grew up playing in Jackson Creek, and at that time, there was a lot of interesting things in the creek. It's been a while since I've gone down and checked it out, but I suspect it's not quite as interesting as it was then. But this is wonderful information for the community to have as a whole. And I do feel a lot of concern over the general lack of information about the importance of drainage and how it affects our water and just how important our waterways are. And I think this kind of information really helps people to understand what's going on. So thank you very much.
I'm sure we want to move on, but just to that point, I think we have developed a program, a GIS program in the county where like this could be public facing. Mm-hmm. And as these results come in, you know, we can kind of pancake those all into one point and just kind of click through them and kind of have an analysis of like how things are, being impacted from every time you go and monitor that area. So if that's anything that is beneficial, you already have the data. It's probably already formatted where it would be an easy kind of lift to build out something that's public facing. We have a website where we can host that, and the public can come and click on these and get this analysis whenever they wanted. So I just wanted to share that and offer that support if that's a direction you want to take this project. And also, as maybe some incentive, if you ever put a resume together, you can actually just put a link on it and send them right to where it's being hosted. So,
Thank you, Tron.
I think that's definitely a good idea and would benefit the community. And hopefully, if that is pursued, once it happens, you'll come, or someone will come to a commissioners meeting and inform the public about it and about what's available.
I'm really pleased we have this kind of a link also association with the McNeil School, because I think it benefits students, but also benefits us. We don't have other people to do some of this work. And so I thank you very much.
And now we should move on to our other staff reports, the South Rogers Street Storm Sewer Replacement Project completion.
Okay. I wanted to show you some pictures of a project that our stormwater crew recently completed in October. It was one of the larger storm sewer projects we've done in a little while. And we had all hands on deck for a full week completing this project. So it's loading. Hold on, I have a lot of pictures in here. In the meantime, I do want to thank Kaylin for all of her work on this monitoring program. She started here, and I told her we're starting at square one, and so she designed the program, did all of the quality assurance planning for it, sample site selection, and she's been working with Adam on all the field work. So thank you to both of them for their hard work. And eventually, we will, invest in some higher quality sampling equipment, like a better thermometer or something. There are things we can do to get like probes and a flow meter and just keep improving the quality of our monitoring program. So Hoosier River Watch is great for general high-level knowledge, but we didn't do anything with biological communities like E. coli, where we have TMDLs for E. coli in the area. There's so much more we can study, so this is a really great start to that. So.
Well, and at one point when there were a lot of PCBs in Clear Creek, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and probably still, but...
And Richland Creek was very, very affected by them. Yeah.
We probably won't sample for PCBs, because I don't know if we can do much about that.
A lot of that information is available from CBU. They've done sampling ever since the 70s, maybe.
But it's important for people who fish in some of those streams or catch crawdads or anyway, source food from
much to catch for a while.
And the state does do fish tissue sampling. They've sampled for PCBs, and so they will rate the streams for suitability for the fishing, swimming, recreation. So it's another presentation for another day. All right. So this culvert replacement project on South Rogers Street, it's just south of the post office. So we completed the work the week of October 21st, almost 300 labor hours for everyone on our crew, and the total cost was just over $35,000. The material cost, which is what you'll see in the budget reports, was $7,814.54. The rest of that total cost is what we calculated from our asset management software Cartograph based on total number of hours the crew members worked and the value of the equipment we used on the project. Okay. So this crossing under South Rogers Street started as a 1930s limestone block conveyance. And we had repaired it several times. It connected to a corrugated metal pipe just downstream and was showing signs of deterioration. And we spent some money in the past to fix this area. Upstream development studied this area, determined that this crossing was not adequate, and so we took the opportunity to replace this nearly 100-year-old structure with a 36-inch pipe under the road. This is the original limestone label on it from the WPA program from 1930s. So the limestone is gone. We dug a trench, and I just have a series of pictures to show you the progress of this project. One of the more tricky aspects of this project is that we had a couple utility conflicts. One of them on the right side here, I can't think you can see my mouse, is that fiber line. There it is. So that was about 9 inches below the ground surface. We left it in place and were able to work around it. But we also had a 6-inch water main on the other side, basically at the edge of the road, that we had to be very careful with. We were working very close to the water main and closer than they'd normally allow contractors to work. So we had CBU's inspector out there. We dug by hand to find the water main and took protections needed to make sure that it was protected, and we did not have any issues. So kudos to the crew for their patience, their hard work, coordination to make sure that the utilities were protected. So that's another picture. This is the bedding for the manhole, and just on the edge of that is the 6-inch water main. It's a little bit of a delay as I'm changing slides. So, okay, there we go. All right, so that's Bobby taking the straps off. We're ready to unload the 6-foot manhole that we ordered. We had to do a larger manhole in order to accommodate a 36-inch pipe. Normally we would see like a 4-foot manhole, but this had to be much larger to maintain structural integrity and fit a larger pipe. That's Jason Moore. Adam was operating, Adam Edwards, setting the manhole, and it took us about 4 tries maybe to set it where we wanted. It was a little bit too high at first, so we kept having to dig down a few inches. Jason was back and forth measuring the elevation of the other structure uphill to make sure it was set at the correct elevation. So our operator, Adam, was very patient and had to pull it up a few times to get it set at the correct height. The crew here, they're adding the glue mastic to the top of the structure. We did 2 rows of that, and then the top will go on in the casting. Hold on, it's coming. There we go. So placed the entire structure, castings on it, everything is in place. That was probably the most meticulous part of the whole project, because that determines the slope of the pipe and the elevation of everything. So they did a great job coordinating and working together on that. Also very dangerous because you're lifting up a huge piece of concrete, and they were all did a great job. Then the 36-inch pipe went in under the roadway, and the pipe was mortared into the structure. So they mortared basically where the pipe goes into the structure and around all the joints. They did that one, and they also did the one across the street. After everything was mortared, we did backfill. We chose to do what we call flowable backfill. You could backfill with clean stone or native material. Stone is usually in our standards. Our crew backfills with flowable fill, which is a little bit more expensive, but we don't have to worry about any sinking in the roadway. So it's really strong. And I especially wanted to do this because I would normally require a reinforced concrete pipe under a roadway like this, but due to some of the space restrictions we had to go with a corrugated metal pipe. So we decided to backfill with flowable for that extra structure. Okay. And then we had to do the downstream pipe that went between the homes out to a ditch that then went to Clear Creek. So again, 36-inch pipe. We added some straps, rebar, and extra concrete around this because it is close to the floodplain. So that adds a little bit extra weight. We only had about a foot of cover on the pipe, so that would make sure if we had a high water event that it would not float away. After that, we were ready to, this about Thursday at this point, we're ready to finish the patch in the road, and we did that last 11 or 12 inches with concrete. So everyone had their job and task to do here. They all did a really great job working together to finish that road patch, get the concrete done, and yeah, it was really, really great to see. Washed out in a little bag. You can see the white bag back there. And yeah, so this is the fresh concrete at the end of the day. We gave it at least 24 hours to cure because it was such a deep patch. So we had the road closed through the end of the day Friday, even though it was poured on Thursday. And you can see we also had to bring in some topsoil. We exhausted our reserves at the garage, and so we had to purchase some topsoil to finish this out. But trying to get everything to drain towards that casting, which ended up being a couple inches higher than we had originally planned, but that's how things happen. So they made it work. And yeah, this was the Friday of that week. They were able to open the road. Everything went on schedule. So the weather cooperated. The neighbors were incredibly patient with us. The October foliage was showing off. It was really pretty. So this is what it looked like when we opened the road at the end of the day on Friday. The following week, we went through and did some stabilization work. It was very windy that day, so we will need to go back and redo some seed and straw. We've also had some rain with that, the ditch that goes out to Clear Creek. So we are going to go back and work with the property owners to make sure that it gets properly stabilized before the winter. We did have only one minor little accident during the project. We found the property owner's septic tank. They had told us, they thought it was in a different area. We had driven a truck back there, just was backing it in to be able to receive material that we were excavating. It was a very old tank, and we got someone on it right away, and we replaced that for them. It was about a $4,000 mistake. But the property owners were very patient with us and worked very well, so we went ahead and fixed that for them. But other than that, everything went very smoothly. So yeah, you'll see that it's all stabilized there in their backyard. We also had to remove that pine tree, which I really hope it lives. We weren't planning on having to move it, but the guys were great. They also saved that ornamental tree on the side of the house. They made sure to protect all that. So they do very careful work. They're really talented guys, and I'm just really lucky that they can do big projects like this, and I'm just really impressed. So that's all of them from left to right: Tim Roberts, Greg Nettleton, Adam Edwards, Bobby, and Mike Betcher, who just gave us 2 weeks' notice, and he's no longer working for us. I know. And then Brendan Pratt and Jason Moore. I got this picture, and I was like, it's because I took a group picture of them that one of them gave their notice. But so no more group pictures.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I think they all do a great job, so I wanted to show off what they do for you. It was one of the more involved and technical projects we've had all year, so happy to answer any questions. If you ever want to go out and see the crew, I'm happy to take you out there. But yeah, these guys do great work, so I want to thank them.
Thank you so much. To me, it's always very special when projects like this are done in-house. We do have very talented employees, and it's nice to see them demonstrating that. Any comments, questions?
I love seeing the pictures that took us from the start to the finish, and you explaining what happened every step of the way. I mean, so often this is just like nebulous about what goes on, right? Or something off in the ether. And so I really appreciate how you're explaining all this.
Just yeah, I agree that it's kind of neat. I just have a couple of quick questions. The first one is with the fiber optics, I guess, or in avoiding that. Did we know that that was being installed so close to any of our infrastructure?
I'm not typically notified. The
Right.
only notification we get is Ben Ayers may have a right-of-way activity permit, but usually we don't, no.
Right.
They do relocations if needed, though. That one, we had called them out months ago, and they looked at it. We excavated it to see how deep it was. We knew where it was, and checking with the company, we agreed that we could work around it. They could relocate it if needed.
I've just heard a lot of grumbling of installing fiber optics and them just punching holes through our pipes and stuff,
Yes.
Especially with some legal drains with other counties. And that's kind of the impetus of my question. So that's good. The equipment we saw them operate, is that rented or a highway?
The only thing we rented was actually the one little piece of equipment in this picture. They call it like the little dingo. It's the one you stand on the back of it and has a really tiny bucket. We needed that to be able to get in between the houses.
And the backhoes and all that, that was ours as in stormwater or highway?
Stormwater and highway. So the large 320 excavator we actually borrowed from the bridge crew.
Okay.
And I do want to give the highway department and bridge crew a lot of thanks for coordinating with us. Because, yeah, they were also on site earlier in the week coordinating that excavator and working with us on that. So thank you to them.
And then the crew that you referred to, that's the stormwater crew.
This is all the stormwater crew, yes.
Right.
But highway and bridge crew also help us with some projects. For example, I was out on Gifford Road this morning with the crew, and there was a highway staff
Okay.
crew member out there helping. So
And then, well, I guess this is probably the largest pipe installation that we've seen since we've talked about, the collaborative efforts with highway and taking on larger piping and culverts and things like that. So I'm just trying to kind of get a good sense of, where the stormwater dollars are going and then how that is somewhat offset with highway equipment and other things. So, where we're balancing those investments or those dollars. I'm a little of an outlier since, I don't do anything that's related to highway. So these questions are due to that. And I kind of want to make sure as these move forward, I get a good sense that, there is a good balance of efforts. And then I guess my final question is, what happened there? What goes on when it floods? Like, does it, because it looks like that would pond onto the neighbors mainly, because it looked like a pretty steep drop on the other side.
yeah, the tree line there is basically Clear Creek, and these rear yards here are floodplain.
Okay.
So it will flood, but we have the laser level and have that ditch with enough change in slope. So then when the floodwaters recede, it'll drain.
So prior, when the water would pond up, was it ponding up on the road or on the yard, or what kind of impact was occurring?
I am not knowledgeable of any roadway flooding.
Okay.
But there may have been upstream issues. But the fact that there's so much development in this watershed directly upstream, it would only be exacerbated by that. So replacing this, we would ensure that it can handle future events.
And what would be neat as we continue to kind of maybe look at how stormwater benefits highway and highway benefits stormwater is really getting a good mapping of our ditching efforts and things. So as if the water is being conveyed and we put in larger pipes like this, and there's opportunity to create more connectivity so it does kind of flow to one spot that kind of has the infrastructure to facilitate that type of water conveyance needed, then, that would be another great step in this approach of kind of finding that balance between both efforts. So, sorry for the number of questions, but this was brought up in May. We talked about a little bit through budget cycle, and this is the first project. So I just want to make sure I'm following along as best as possible with some of the efforts taking place that benefit both departments. But the greatest thing, and I know we had this conversation, and my colleagues have kind of made it clear that, being proactive will mitigate other costs. And, this is, I don't necessarily see that as closely as my colleagues in the county commissioners do. So thank you for expanding on some of those questions. And thank you for allowing me to, have this dialogue so I have a better sense of how these efforts are going to move forward.
I will say Lisa is no longer in the meeting, but I can talk to her about some of your questions about how highway and stormwater work together. We track everyone's hours and equipment usage and cartographs, so I know we have the data. Lynette could easily pull it. She's just very busy. So I will talk to Lisa if that's something that she can work with Lynette to come up
For sure,
with.
but even just this was great because it shows the before and the after, and it shows different types of equipment and what kind of demand really goes or is needed for a project like this. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the staff report on the Moores Creek Road project update, which is near completion.
Yes, so I have some pictures from our November report from Lockmuller Group, our project management consultant. These pictures are all updated, and he texted me some pictures of it newly paved, but they didn't make it into the packet. So, like I said, so I included our November report, which has some pictures of the progress on Moores Creek Road. So basically last week they paved, and they should have been sweeping up everything yesterday. They're finishing up shoulder stone, ditch stabilization, and they're wrapping up. We have our probably last progress meeting tomorrow afternoon to finish up remaining items. Highway will go out and replace signs, and then the road will reopen. So I want to thank Milestone Contractors for the work on this project. Lockmuller Group, specifically Jason Buck is our project manager with Lockmuller. He's been on site almost every day, working directly with the contractor to solve problems on site, working with everyone to coordinate, and then updating myself and the highway department on their progress. So super helpful to have him on board. And again, thanks to Lockmuller and Milestone for their work on this project. That's my...
Excellent. Another one that's been around forever. Well, the two really kind of go together, but yeah, it's great to see it being finished off. Any comments or questions?
Just one brief one. I think this is a great pilot project to show the public what we're doing. So maybe we missed the opportunity to do before, but a drone flight afterwards, and just a short 30-second video, because we're talking about millions of dollars, and being able to do a promo like that of this is what stormwater's doing, I think would be amazing. So I'll just leave that there, maybe for our next big project. But I really think that there's opportunity here to promote and bring awareness of the stormwater program, as far as doing a aerial shot of all this progress, because there was a significant work that went into this.
Maybe you'd lost power. Sorry.
I had. Sorry, my computer had just decided to turn off, and I wasn't sure what the last item was.
Well, the last item, I just put it on there, is the work the crew's doing this week is they're encapsulating a small portion of a ditch on Gifford Road. So I didn't have any materials to update you on that, but I wanted to let you know what they're working on. If you're in the area, you can see what we're up to. In the future, I can provide you more summary on that project, but that's it. So
Okay.
we'll be on South Shore next week doing some stabilization on the causeway at Lake Lemon. So
Thank you. So, are there any further comments or questions from the board? Then we are adjourned.